When did a coincidence lead to a once-in-a-lifetime discovery? On the first day I moved into my new apartment, I already had a grumpy neighbor leaving passive-aggressive notes on my door. Stop slamming the door like you're trying to knock the building over. That was the first one. The next day was about how my recycling bin was too close to the hallway. I hadn't even met anyone yet, and I was already public enemy number one. My mom always said people are less mad when they're chewing, so I baked a batch of blueberry muffins using a recipe I remembered from college. I wasn't sure which neighbor it was, but I saw an empty note on the floor outside one of the doors, so I figured it must be them. I knocked, and this really cute girl opened it wearing a messy ponytail and a hoodie that said, "Sorry I'm late, I didn't want to come." But what really caught me were her eyes, which were so red that it was obvious she had been crying. She looked surprised, but also curious when I held up the Tupperware. "Hi," I said. "I think I've been a pretty annoying neighbor. I just moved in, I came in peace and brought peace muffins." She blinked and then laughed. "Thanks, this is probably the best thing that's happened to me today." Then she slammed the door in my face like those muffins were the only thing I was good for. At least I made peace, right? We started bumping into each other more after that, and I found out her name was Kate. She worked random hours at a music school and had a dog named Clarence who hated tile floors. We'd chat in the hallway, then share leftovers here and there, and by the end of the month it kind of felt like we had an unofficial friendship going on. She was sarcastic in a quiet way that didn't feel mean, and I really liked being around her. I started looking forward to hearing her laugh at something dumb I had said. I even caught myself baking muffins again just to have an excuse to knock on her door again. During all that, mean notes were still being left on my door, calling me an idiot for missing garbage day, but I just thought it was Kate making fun of me. Then about 6 weeks in, our building threw this small potluck thing in the lounge downstairs. Kate and I went down together, and she introduced me to a few people. We were standing near the drinks table when she nodded toward a guy across the room. "That's the neighbor who thinks you stole his Amazon package. I think it's weird that you still haven't apologized," she said. I almost choked on my lemonade. "What?" I said. "You never apologized. You know, the guy with the beard. He still complains about the new guy who bakes muffins but can't own up to taking a box of gardening stuff, and that's why he keeps leaving you notes." I looked at her and realized something that made my stomach drop. She didn't live in the apartment with the notes, and the empty note outside her door was a coincidence. I had given the muffins to the wrong person. The angry neighbor was still mad, and I hadn't made peace at all. I just got lucky with a completely different neighbor and completely ignored the new notes like an actual idiot. Kate saw the look on my face and raised an eyebrow. "You okay?" I just realized I gave those muffins to the wrong apartment. She started laughing and covered her mouth. "Are you serious?" I nodded and tried not to panic. "I thought you were the one who left the notes." I was trying to apologize. "Oh my god," she said. "But I'm glad you chose my apartment instead because I really needed a win that day." I didn't know what to say. I was embarrassed, but then remembered how her eyes were red from crying that day and decided we were finally close enough to ask her about it. That's the day I lost my mom. As soon as the words were out of her mouth, I went speechless. Here I was thinking about muffins and angry notes while she was dealing with something much deeper. Don't be too hard on yourself. I'm a very private person, which is why I didn't tell anyone. But that also meant I ended up grieving by myself. So when you knocked on my door and gave me those delicious muffins, it really felt like my day brightened up just a little bit. I told her I was happy to have helped, and then gave her a hug that she probably needed. Later that night, I left a note and a new batch of muffins at the actual grumpy neighbor's home. I apologized for the noise and told them how I hadn't actually taken the package, but still offered to make it up however I could. There wasn't a response, but the next morning there was another note that said, "Thanks for not slamming the door today. I kept baking muffins once a week." I started giving them to both neighbors. Eventually the grumpy guy stopped glaring at me in the hallway. Kate teased me about being the building's muffin dealer. Somewhere in the middle of all that, we started dating, and she said me making that mistake was her favorite coincidence.